Hi, it's Dre Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. Today we answer the question, what are the three main priorities of an estate plan? When it comes to your estate plan, we all have many goals that we want to accomplish, but for the most part, they boil down to three main things. And we go through each of them and we'll unpack a few ways that you can make sure your estate plan accomplishes your goals. When it comes to an estate plan, the first thing that you want to ensure is you want to make sure your stuff goes to the right people. What stuff are you talking about? It really could be anything. If you think of it one way, we're really borrowing everything. The Bible talks about us being stewards of the things of this earth, and we want to be good stewards. It also says a good person leaves an inheritance for the children's children. Now, I do know there are some people who say, oh, I'm not going to leave anything to my kids. Once I figure this wealth thing out, the growth that I went through, I don't want to ruin that for them. I just want them to kind of struggle and figure it out on their own. The good news is if you do not put a proper estate plan in place, they would lose it anyways. As you guys know, upwards of 90% of generational wealth is gone by the third generation. So when we have a wealthy retirement plan, a byproduct of a wealthy retirement is we're going to have some money and some assets left over. For some of you, you may have a business where you need to figure out, am I passing the business on to my kids? Have they been a part of the business? Have I been preparing my children for this leadership position? If the answer is yes, then you already know exactly what you want to do. You want to make sure your kids get the business. But then the small details is, how do I decide when to pass the business on? Because there is a tax implication when we pass the business on. So is it something that we can do ahead of time in our estate plan where we're saying, look, I know I'm going to give my kid this business. The business is worth $1 million right now. Maybe if I give it to them now, it will lower their tax burden because this business is going gangbusters. I am confident that this business will be worth 10, $20 million by the time I pass. And I don't want to have to pay the estate tax or the death tax. So a part of estate planning and giving the stuff to the right people is deciding when the right time to give it to them is. And because things like your business or real estate or any really income producing asset, you want to normally put them inside of a trust when you pass it on to people. The reality is they may have the best intentions. You may have groomed them as best as you possibly could, but it's equally possible that they may make mistakes unknowingly, or they may purposely do their own thing because they want to set their own path. There is so much that we don't know that you really want to put a nice plan in place that leaves you in control as much as you can be, to where you still give some of the tax benefits by passing it on early, but you still ensure that you create the income that you need for your entire retirement, where you're not possibly risking the business or your retirement income. You'll also find that people have investments in the stock market. They may have investments in real estate. Well, how do we want to pass these assets on? For some of your investments, like some of these pre-tax accounts, you have already selected a beneficiary. Are the right people getting the assets based on the beneficiaries that you put in your 401k or your IRA and different accounts of that nature? If they are, that's great. If not, you need to update them. For some of you, you have more than the traditional assets where you have assets outside of the normal business of real estate and stocks. Some of you have pets and children, and you need to make sure that they're taken care of. And a part of your estate plan is making sure that they go to the right place. Who's going to take care of your children? Are they aware of it? Did you put a plan in place to ensure that not only do your children know where they meet them, but also the people who are going to get your pets or your kids, that you've let them know and they've agreed to it? And while leaving your kids to your parents or your siblings is probably going to be okay with them, you should let them know ahead of time. They should know when they get the phone call that something may have happened, that they know exactly what they're supposed to do, where the assets are, where they pick it up, how they should allocate it, what school district the kid's going to be in. You want to make the transition as seamless as you possibly can. And an estate plan ensures that you transfer your wealth in a way that makes the most sense for you and your retirement, and also the next generation as they prepare to take over these assets. The second main goal of an estate plan is to ensure that the right people have the authority to make decisions on your behalf. There are a few reasons that this would happen. The most common ones is what we'll call an incapacity plan. Is just as we get a little bit older that some of the financial decisions, maybe they don't make sense to be in our hands. But often what happens is as we do get older and then it becomes more apparent that maybe we need a little bit of help. And the way I often describe it to people is this, it's not that we necessarily hit a cliff and we just can't make any decisions. What it is you'll find that more times than not, the person just really has to kind of repeat themselves, where it's just not as crisp and easy for them to answer, where they're repeating the questions and the statements, and you can tell that they're just processing it a little bit slower. They're thinking a little bit harder, and it's just slightly more difficult than it used to be. That's normally going to be the time that you would want to be able to say, I have someone that is going to help make the decisions with me. So I'm being in the general process of the I do and the we do and the you do. I find that is a great way to transfer decision making, leadership, wealth to other people. So I do would be, hey, look, I'm fine. This is how I make my investment decisions. This is how I go through the process. These are the properties. This is the business. These are the employees. This is how everything is done, right? You do everything. That's the I do. And then the we do is just as it sounds. We do it together. Hey, what was the process that we went through for the business? Where are the assets located and how do we transfer them? What is the taxes that we pay? How do we determine all these different things? Because you want to make sure your assets don't get lost on some technicality where someone had the ability to pay $1,000 or $2,000 a year tax bill and they didn't pay it, so they lost the asset. You just don't want things like that to happen. And then the you do would be once you actually need to enact the incapacity plan, then the person already knows how you want everything to be accomplished. Now, naturally, you've made the best decision you possibly could. You found someone that you trust. You went through the I do, we do, and you do process, but you still want to have the right documents in place to ensure that it's as seamless of a transfer of power as possible. This could be a power of attorney, which is naturally only usable while you're still alive. There are some people who believe the power of attorney can be used after the person has passed, but that's just not true. Is the power of attorney? I have the ability, the authority to make decisions on someone's behalf. Can you make decisions on behalf of someone that's already passed? I would say no, and so does the court. So don't think a power of attorney is going to be able to move your assets after you pass. That's just not how they work. But a power of attorney is great for you to use while you're still alive. That person can pay your bills. They can make phone calls on your behalf and cancel different contracts and add new ones. They can make all of these decisions for you. You may also want to have what is called an advance directive, which is a very fancy way of saying they can make healthcare decisions on your behalf. There is a document that is put in place, and then the doctor and your representative are all required to operate based on this advance directive. If you don't want to take a certain shot, they can't give you that shot. If you don't want to be resuscitated, then you can be not be resuscitated. If you don't want a blood transfusion because of religious beliefs, there are so many things where a doctor or someone else can make a decision on your body. And if you have an advance directive in place, you can make sure that you don't get anything that you wouldn't have wanted, that all of your wishes are honored and adhered to, where no one is making changes because they're looking at you on the bed, they have an emotional decision to make, and they make the decision that helps them to sleep at night. It's very nice if you already have the document in place where it's done exactly as you would have wanted if you were in your right mind and able to make the decision yourself. These are very important documents that a lot of us overlook, but if you take the time to put them in place ahead of time, it just again makes the transition that much easier for you. And our third and final priority is to have your beneficiaries clearly defined. As we mentioned earlier, there are some of your documents where you could just choose the beneficiary right up front. If you have that ability, go ahead and make sure that is updated and you have the right beneficiaries in place. If it is a document that you cannot select a beneficiary, then what you will need is a will. The will will outline anything that you can't directly say, I want this to go to Dre, and you're able to say 100%, and then it's done, right? So that is going to be your 401k and your other retirement accounts like your 403b, pensions, annuities, things like that, where they ask you, life insurance policies, they ask you, who is the beneficiary? The name that you put on that document, it's a done deal. They're not even going to worry about anything after that. But other things, maybe the way you want your business set up, or your house, or your cars, or that collection of records that you have, or really any of the collectibles that you have, those are the things that you need to put inside of a will. Once you have a will and you decide who gets them, that is one less thing that you have to worry about. For most people, it's very important to have our beneficiaries clearly defined. And as things change, as someone comes in and out of favor, as we get married, people pass, or whatever's going on, you want to periodically look at your will, make sure the name still makes sense, that it's updated, that it matches your current situation. I often tell people, if you look at it once a year, I'll probably say that's fine. There are some people that say, look, Dre, my life doesn't change a whole bunch as far as my beneficiaries are concerned. For those people, then I would say, okay, if you don't want to look at it at a specific time, then I would say look at it for a specific event. Anytime that you have a life event, whether it's retirement or marriage or other kids, moving, any of these life events, I say those are great times to go back to look at your will. See what assets we've collected. Did we buy another house? Did we sell the car? Did our kids do something great or not so great? And then we need to update these documents because we don't always think in the life event when you're buying a house, you're not thinking, oh, we should go and update our will. That's just not normally how we think. And that's why for most people, I tell them, if you look at it once a year and periodically, it's normally going to be in your best interest because something is going to happen where you just forget because the event is the event. If someone's having a kid, you're not thinking, oh, I need to add that person to my will. If someone passes, you're not thinking, oh, I need to remove that person from my will. That's just, at least for me, I don't think of it that way. And so for me, it's easier for me to have a set date that I'll go back and review all my documents. And that could be once a year. That could be once every 3 years. For me, I like to look at things once a year. It just reminds you of the progress that you had and the assets as they change and your kids as they grow and the success that we've had over the previous 12 months. First of all, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you found value, you want to go ahead and like and subscribe so you can continue receiving valuable insights on how to stop worrying about money and create a wealthy retirement plan. Until next time, stay safe and enjoy life.